5 lights, and away we go here at the Bahrain International Circuit. And as we come towards the final corner, is he going to make a move down the inside? He has the DRS already lined up, so tries to get a good exit off turn 15. But, well, a man with more issues is his teammate Max Verstappen. It's just like real life F1. Finally, this race has come to life. And is he going to be able to make a switchback move? Oh, what a move that is from Giovinazzi. I was behind him, and the left front has gone. The left front has gone straight to 100, and that is disastrous with just 2 corners remaining. What's up, guys, and welcome to round number 4 of the F1 2017 Road to Ferrari. Here today for the Russian Grand Prix after a fantastic race last time out in Bahrain. If you did miss that, do make sure to go and check it out. But there you can see Antonio ready for round number 4. And yeah, we've got another upgrade on the Haas car. I'd love to hear your guys' experiences on F1 at 2017 career mode. So a little challenge for you guys today. Comment down below how you've been getting on in career mode, because yeah, I'd just love to see, you know, how I'm doing in comparison to you guys. But there you can see we've had the chassis weight reduction fitted to the car, and yeah, we had enough resource points to develop another upgrade, this time to the aerodynamics once more. We moved ahead of Force India with the, you know, the rear wing upgrade. So we're doing yet another one. You can see the engine components already getting quite warm, but getting now into Friday practice, and of course starting at the start with the track acclimatization. And unfortunately we had Valtteri Bottas hinder that a little bit. He overtook us on the straight. Of course, he is in the Mercedes, but fortunately it didn't hinder us too much, and we managed to come around the final corner there. Antonio taking a bit off the bollard, but he did manage to get the purple resource points, and so yeah, that's the maximum for the track acclimatization once more. And then it was onto the tyre wear, and as you guys know, well, there isn't much tyre wear around Russia, so it was a pretty easy purple for Antonio on that one. And another 50 resource points in the bag. So next up, it was the fuel saving. And there's a lot of straights and a lot of 90-degree corners at Russia. So yeah, that doesn't lend itself to great fuel saving. And Antonio actually had to lift on the line just to get green. So yeah, didn't bother continuing to get purple. We called him in the Haas garage. So yeah, that was that, still on green. And then it was onto the race strategy, and there was a bit of strategy involved, as you can see. On the second lap, we had Felipe Massa come down the inside of Antonio, and he just had to hang it down the inside, and fair play to him. He actually managed to stay ahead of Massa, who then peeled into the pits at the end of lap 2, meaning that Giovinazzi had a pretty clear run to the line here. You can see him coming around the final 2 corners, and green for the first 2 laps, and once again the time looked just about good enough to get into the green. So that was a purple for the race strategy. Onto the optimal pace, meaning another 50 resource points. And then before the qualifying pace, the Haas boys decided it was time to replace all of the engine components. You can see there, all of them looking a bit worn. Some up to 75%, so they pretty much would have blown at the end of this race. So yeah, a fresh power unit for the qualifying run. And yeah, after the first sector, it looked as if it may have been a little bit of a struggle. 1.5 tenths down on the target time. But after a good sector 2 and sector 3, it was pretty easy in the end, and actually getting up into a predicted P9, so very, very good, arguably the best of the season so far. But now it was time to see whether he could put that into practice, getting into qualifying. So yeah, that is the man that he's trying to beat, his teammate Romain Grosjean. He has outqualified him once this season, that was in Australia. But Giovinazzi has been outraced in all 3 Grand Prix so far by his French teammate. So yeah, looking to get a good qualifying position and set himself up for a good result after so nearly pulling it off in Bahrain. But there you can see coming across the line for P5 for his, yeah, I'd say it was more of a banker lap for Giovinazzi first time out. So yeah, he came back into the pits strapped on a fresh set of rubber, and then it was back out for the final timed lap. So you can see a big train of cars there as everyone is rushing to get their times completed. He fell from P10 into P13 in the meantime, but there you can see he's 5.5 tenths up on his previous best time, and this is sector 3. He's just completely hooking it up. Almost a second up on his previous best time. Just getting such good traction through this area, and Antonio, as the weekend gets on, is just getting more and more confident around this Sochi circuit, which I must say feels really, really nice on the 2017 game. And there you can see Lewis Hamilton takes a provisional pole, but what's it going to be for Giovinazzi? Up into a provisional P8, but what is it going to be after everyone has come across the line? It is P13, so a little bit disappointing. It is a little bit of a glitch on the game at the moment that, you know, the AI are very OP when sort of the simulation, the time simulates. But there we go, it's an all-Mercedes front row for Sunday with Massa and Ricciardo on row 2. So a poor day for the Ferraris once again, starting in P5 and P7. 10th and 11th for the Renault guys, with Verstappen only just ahead of Giovinazzi in P12. Not a bad session for McLaren Honda, 14th and 15th for them. And Sauber actually starting 17th and 18th, with my teammate Grosjean all the way down in P19, with Kvyat not setting a time. So now it was time for race day. And there you can see Kimi Räikkönen leading the drivers' standings quite substantially by 14 points. But yeah, it was Mercedes leading the way in the constructors' standings, and they will be looking to stretch their legs with a front row lockout today. But anyway, getting now on to the teammate battle, you can see there between Giovinazzi and Grosjean. Now it's all square in qualifying, so Giovinazzi looking to outrace Grosjean for the first time this season, and yeah, close that gap. It's currently 14 points in the drivers' standings. It's looking like a pretty simple one-stopper today, going from the ultra softs to the super softs, although there is an alternate, obviously, two-stopper, 2 ultra soft stints and 1 super soft stint, but I don't believe anybody will be going for that today. So Antonio starting on the ultra soft tyres. Can he get a good start for this Russian Grand Prix? It's been a great season so far, and now we have 5 lights and away we go for the Russian Grand Prix, and a pretty decent start for Giovinazzi. It's been poor getaway for Verstappen, and he's already ahead of the Dutchman. Going through turn 1, Perez getting out of shape, as is Hülkenberg. Giovinazzi takes the position. Now you can see up at the front, Felipe Massa trying to look for a move for the lead, but Giovinazzi going into turn 1 has been outbroken by Sainz and Pascal Wehrlein, who has had a great start for the Sauber team. But Giovinazzi now going down the inside into this iconic turn 4, I believe. It's either turn 3 or turn 4. But anyway, trying to go down the inside of Carlos Sainz now into the middle sector. But it doesn't look as if the Italian is going to be able to make it stick. And yeah, just trying to settle into a rhythm now. This middle sector just feels so much better on this game than it has in previous years. Just getting a lot more traction through this section. But yeah, it's all about the setup for the 2 DRS straights really around this circuit. Obviously, with these 2017 cars, it's difficult to pass at the best of times. But yeah, pretty much a no-go in that middle sector. So Giovinazzi now preparing himself for the main straight, and he is closing up on Sainz. He's already had a good battle with Carlos. I believe it was in China, where we saw the superior Ferrari power being able to dispatch of the Toro Rosso. But will it be the case once again today? Obviously in Bahrain as well, he had another battle with Carlos Sainz, but he is currently sitting in P11 on the super soft tyres, so it is imperative that Giovinazzi manages to make his way round the Spaniard sooner rather than later. So in terms of the fuel consumption, it's looking pretty not great today. We have fueled the car just about normal rather than under-fueling it as we have done in the first 3 races. But of course in that middle sector you can pretty much run in lean for the whole time. But now going into standard mix, will Giovinazzi be able to make the move down the inside of Carlos Sainz? Be a lovely move if he could, and it looks as if he may have done, but Sainz, no, he's held it down the inside. And now as we go into turn 3, there's been an engine failure up ahead. I think it's a Ferrari. Yes, it is. It is the championship leader, not Daniel Ricciardo. It's Kimi Räikkönen, who was pulled over at the side of the road, and Giovinazzi had to let Sainz through in all of that mayhem. So the 2 Ferraris cars, who have not had a great start, were jousting with each other through turn 2, and then yeah, it's just a well, I assume the internal combustion engine or possibly the turbo has just completely blown up in Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari. And, well, he could lose the championship lead as a result. And there you can see Jolyon Palmer getting all out of shape as we go on to lap 4. There was no safety car, interestingly enough, from that, or even a virtual safety car. But, yeah, Jolyon Palmer struggling early on in this race. We're going to take a look on board now with the Brit. And, yeah, he just simply locks up into there, lets Esteban Ocon through. And now right on his gearbox is Carlos Sainz. So, yeah, 1 lap later on lap 5, Giovinazzi has the DRS and he's going to make a lunging move down the inside. I don't think Sainz expected that whatsoever. But these two are just having a great battle, a monumental battle. And it's only lap 5 currently. So you can see Giovinazzi just trying to stay out of the wake of Carlos Sainz. Meaning that, you know, he's just trying to get out of the turbulent air. You know, that's just something that I learned from engineering, isn't it? But anyway, coming through the final corner now, Giovinazzi trying to use all of his racing prowess in order to get ahead of Carlos Sainz onto the DRS. Now he does want to be in behind Sainz to get that slipstream, but he moves out of it, and surely he'll make the move now up into a points-paying position. Sainz tries to come back at him, and there you can see Giovinazzi going down into second gear from 4th, so he has lost a gear by the looks of it, and that is, oh, so that would just be awful luck if it was the case. And what a gear to lose around here as well. We're now going to take a listen to the team radio.
We've lost one of the gears. The transmission is significantly damaged. We're down a gear.
Yeah, so that just confirms the fears that we've lost a gear in the Haas car. Awful luck. So, yeah, it's going to be very difficult from now on to not use that 3rd gear because it's used for so many different corners.
Okay, bad news on the gearbox. The team are trying everything they can think of, but they're not optimistic. Just keep at it. Do your best. That's all we can ask.
Well, isn't that just brilliant? They're not even sure whether they can fix the issue. So coming through this final sector is really where it comes to fruition. You can see going into 4th gear rather than 3rd. It's just so difficult to get any sort of drive or traction through there. This corner, the penultimate corner, is fortunately a 4th gear corner, but they're going into the final corner. The amount of understeer. Giovinazzi deciding to shift down to 2nd, but that definitely isn't the gear to use. So, yeah, it's going to be very difficult from now on. But up ahead, we have Daniel Ricciardo, who is once again struggling in the Red Bull. They've had some really poor reliability so far this season, and it looks as if it's possibly breaking this time for Ricciardo. He's also not harvesting any ERS on the exit of that turn, but having to hold it in 4th gear and still being able to make the move on the Australian. Fantastic stuff there from Giovinazzi. So, yeah, he moves up into P9, once again taking advantage of the reliability struggles for Red Bull. And now it is time to get on the tail of Jolyon Palmer. So the gap is 1.4 seconds, but now Giovinazzi's looking behind him at Ricciardo's teammate, Max Verstappen. So currently the Haas car of Giovinazzi is ahead of both of the Red Bulls, but maybe not for long. And Verstappen has the DRS, goes down the inside, and is Giovinazzi going to have anything to say about that? He gets beautiful drive now through the sweeping turn 3, and it looks as if he holds his position ahead of the Dutchman, and that is brilliant defensive driving there, and even attacking driving, you know, to get the position back once again and holding that P9. So on to lap 11 now. We're actually approaching the pit window, and Jolyon Palmer, it looks as if he's less than a second ahead, and he's there still using that 4th gear, so it's going to be difficult to be able to make a move on the Brit, but he will do his best. And there's a really big cluster of cars up ahead. And it looks like there's possibly a couple of them coming into the pit lane. Yes, there is. One of them being Sebastian Vettel and also Sergio Perez. So that promotes Giovinazzi up into P6 because Felipe Massa is also in the pit lane. And sure enough, he does get that DRS advantage on Jolyon Palmer, who is just too far behind the cars ahead to be able to make a move or even use the DRS. So Giovinazzi now just closing in on Jolyon Palmer and trying to take some points away off the Brit. And of course, in real life, he does tend to struggle to score points. So will this be an opportunity now to get ahead of the Renault car? Closing and closing as we get towards the end of the DRS zone, shifting down from 8th gear. And there you can see, accidentally, Giovinazzi shifting into 3rd gear. And at this point, I think he realises, wait, I've got third gear back. So yeah, thank you very much to the Haas team for letting us know that we had third gear back. But anyway, it's good to have that third gear back. Although it looks as if we will have to take a gearbox penalty next time out. Palmer coming into the pit lane, trying to take as much slipstream as possible. And the Haas guys want Giovinazzi to do an extra lap by the looks of it to everybody else. So his teammate Romain Grosjean is quite considerably behind, if I can speak. But, so yeah, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But an issue is that Valtteri Bottas has emerged from the pit lane just ahead of Giovinazzi, and he's parking it on that apex. Giovinazzi, in fact, having to take to the, almost take to the escape road there in order to, yeah, not make any contact. And somehow he manages to stay ahead of Bottas for the entire lap as Lewis Hamilton, his teammate, sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But there you can see peeling off into the pit lane and just about slowing it down in time. He is going to make his one and only pit stop of the afternoon, and it's going to have to be slick if he is going to make it ahead of the Renault car. So there you can see on the mini-map, the little yellow dot shows that Grosjean continues for another lap. He started on the super soft tyres, so hopefully he can hold up the field a little bit for Giovinazzi, who, yeah, it was a pretty decent stop, I believe 2.9 seconds, so yeah, pretty standard. And now you can see the big train of cars emerging, and there is Jolyon Palmer just behind Giovinazzi, who is going to make it out ahead in the net P8. It looks as if it is going to be very, very tight on the run down to turn 2, but Palmer just about gets it, and obviously cold tyres for Giovinazzi, but it was very, very close. So yeah, pretty much as you were now. No real loss or gain from Giovinazzi in that pit phase, apart from the fact that he has the newest tyres, or the newest super soft tyres, on the grid at the moment, as I believe now he's going to try and make a move on Jolyon Palmer going through turn 1, which almost doesn't really exist. But getting onto the DRS, is he going to be able to make the move now into turn 2? And sure enough, he does get ahead of Palmer, taking the racing line. Obviously now being able to shift through third gear, and he makes it up into P12, which should be higher as the other drivers make their pit stops. So next up is Lance Stroll in the Williams, who has not had a good afternoon in comparison to his teammate. And now you can see a few drivers in the pit lane, one of which being Romain Grosjean. So yeah, fortunately enough, he is moving out of the way in order for us to take his position. So coming up now into P10, and I believe that will get higher, and there's a couple more drivers to make their pit stops. And yes, sure enough, Carlos Sainz into the pit lane, so that is P9 for Giovinazzi. I think I said earlier that he would have been in a net P8. I was wrong, it's P9. So I think everybody has now made their one and only pit stops, and skipping now all the way on to lap 20. And there is a big, big train of cars. So for a few laps, Giovinazzi was just sort of sitting behind, saving a little bit of fuel. And now you can see he is in the positive, meaning that he can run in rich mix. And that will definitely help him in getting past Lance Stroll. Obviously a fresh internal combustion unit this weekend for the Haas driver. Is he going to be able to make it down the inside? It looks as if he is as we switch to the cinematic view. And that is a lovely move down the inside by the Italian, and making mincemeat of the young Canadian driver. So up into P8, and next up it is Max Verstappen. So that is the position that I was on about. So it was a net P8, but Verstappen managed to jump Giovinazzi in the pit phase, which is a little bit unfortunate. But nonetheless, it's onwards and upwards for the Italian driver, and it looks as if he is closing in on the Dutchman, who is being held up by the two Force India drivers, not colliding into each other at the moment at least. But yeah, coming through that final corner, there is just 3 laps left to go in the brilliant Russian Grand Prix. It has to be said, it really has lived up to well, if there was any expectations for a Russian Grand Prix, then it would have lived up to them. But now coming towards turn 1, or turn 2 in fact, is he going to be able to make a move on Verstappen? No, he thinks better of it. But Ocon and Perez are now going at it. and that means Verstappen has to slow down, and he's also harvesting energy as we go through turn 3. So is Giovinazzi going to be able to make a dive down the inside? He does, and they're going to be side by side in this middle sector, but Verstappen just about holds it for the meantime, and Giovinazzi right on the gearbox of the Red Bull driver as we go through this middle sector. It looks as if he's left Lance Stroll for dust as well, so Giovinazzi very much showing that he has the pace so far this weekend. Currently running it on the 95 Legend AI, so yeah, possibly thinking about moving it up in the next Grand Prix, possibly just up to 97, 98, and yes, the road to 100 continues. But back to the action anyway. Once again, he is on the DRS, and it looks as if Sergio Perez has now pulled a little bit of a gap ahead of his teammate Ocon. And yeah, Ocon coming under pressure from Verstappen and Giovinazzi. And once again, Giovinazzi just trying to get out of the wake of Max Verstappen, at least through that section. Just to try and, you know, increase the traction and, yeah, not wear out those front tyres. He's obviously, of course, trying to use the advantage on the tyres as well after having pitted a couple of laps after these guys in front. But now, starting lap 26, surely this Ferrari engine is going to have the legs over Max Verstappen. And Ocon, I don't believe, has DRS, so he should be the fastest of these three drivers at the moment. He's surely going to make a move down the inside of Verstappen into turn 2. It looks as if he does. Also trying to make a dive down the inside of Ocon. What a double overtake for Giovinazzi. He is up into P6, and that is beautiful stuff from the Italian. And wow, looking as if he's going to be scoring big points for the Haas team this afternoon. Obviously, it's been difficult for Romain Grosjean, but lap 27 now, one lap later, and he is not done yet. He has the DRS on Sergio Perez, and is he going to be able to make one last move into this, you know, at the end of the final DRS zone? It looks as if he's just too far back, braking very late though. And it looks as if Perez is in fact struggling on his tyres in this final lap. But he's currently in standard mix, just about has enough fuel to come to the end. And what a bit of traction that is through there, but just getting a tank slapper. And surely that has settled it. If he was to make a diving move into the final two corners, that is now off the cards. And there you can see braking very late into the final corner. But what a result for Antonio Giovinazzi. P6, very much deserved after the last few races. But yeah, a brilliant Russian Grand Prix. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Do leave a like down below if you did. Had to get that in there. But it was another victory today for Mercedes. I believe back-to-back victories now. Or no, sorry, Kimi Raikkonen has won a couple of races, hasn't he? I believe it was round 1 since the last Mercedes win, and it is Lewis Hamilton who did take the victory today. You know, taking advantage of the issues Ferrari had, not their best track. And there you can see Verstappen recovering from a few issues. And yeah, he looks quite happy with P8. So I'm not sure what sort of issues he was in fact nursing, but does score some points this afternoon. And there you can see Felipe Massa making it onto the podium. So it's a pretty good afternoon for the Williams boys, as there you can see Hamilton lifting his trophy. And now it is time for the champagne. A 1-2 for Mercedes at the start, and a 1-2 for them at the end as well. Toto Wolff looking very happy indeed. But yeah, today it was a brilliant race for us in the Haas car. Once again, proving our worth. Not quite as good as the P5 that we would have got in Bahrain had the tyres not exploded. But yeah, there you can see Sebastian Vettel in P4. Perez was the best of the rest though this afternoon, or arguably you could say the best of the rest was Massa up in P4. Our teammate Romain Grosjean only managing P11, and once again the curse of the points for Jolyon Palmer. He ended up down in P12, so not a good afternoon for the Brit. Just the one retirement, and that was Kimi Raikkonen. 3 cars were lapped this afternoon, and there you can see Giovinazzi moving up into the top 10 in the driver's standings, just behind his teammate Romain Grosjean. So 6 points is the difference. That can easily be closed over the course of the season. And Massa moving up into P8, so fair play to him. Verstappen and Ricciardo, though, are struggling for Red Bull, who are actually only 20 points ahead of ourselves. So it goes 50, 40, 30, and then 24. So a good afternoon for Williams, and it's looking like a tasty battle for 4th in the Constructors' standings, with 3 teams yet to get off the mark. And I just wanted to point this out. Force India responded to it on Twitter last night, but you can see... What's your problem, Force India? What have we done to you? We just have literally 0 reputation. But yeah, our reputation is looking good, especially with Red Bull. And finally, we will be recapping the teammate battle. So it's 2-2 in qualifying. And finally, we've actually clawed one back in the race. It is now 3-1 to Grosjean in that sense. 2-2 though on the fastest laps. Giovinazzi managing to get the fastest lap in comparison to Grosjean this afternoon. And as you saw in the driver's standings, it is now 18 points to 12. But that, guys, concludes the Russian Grand Prix for 2017. I will see you guys next time for the Spanish Grand Prix. But until then, guys, do take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.